Welcome back. So we'll be discussing Lab 2 and Project 2. And in this lab and project, there are some areas which are going to overlap with the previous discussion with Project 1. So in this project, as you can see on our Canvas site, these two graded projects and labs are available. In some places you might see lab, or some places you might see training, but these are available and the due dates are also shown. If you're watching this video some other time, your due dates will be different, of course, and there might be some changes as well based on which version of SAM we are using and which version of Discovering Computer and Excel textbook we are using. This particular presentation is for Excel 2016, so hopefully in the future it might be Excel 2019 or different version, but overall the functionalities and the steps involved are very similar in nature. All right, so let's go and get started. When I open my Project 2 and I get instructions file, before I started this video, I actually had already opened up the instruction file, and in this instruction file in Project 2 there are altogether 18 steps. And if you remember from my previous video from Project 1, at the end of the instruction file there is a snapshot, or there is a screenshot or image of what your project should look like at the end. So I also recommend, before you start this project, you scroll down all the way, go to step number 18 and look at some of those images. So just in case if you want to compare, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So you can see your screen or your spreadsheet should look something like this, and there are a couple of images. You can scroll further down and you can take a look. If your final view it looks different, it means one of the steps either is partially applied or it's not correctly applied. So just wanted to highlight this one before we start. I will not be showing you all the steps in this video. I'll be showing you some of the steps which we need to understand, because some of the steps, like I stated earlier, are overlapping. So some of those steps, for example, applying accounting style, we did that in Project 1. I'm going to skip that one. Changing the width of a column or autofit, which we did in Project 1 as well. So some of those steps are really simple and straightforward. The second thing I want to highlight before you start this project, or even Project 3 or Project 4, it's a very good practice that you can start and open up the lab at the same time. So for example, or if you have a textbook with you, you can open your textbook. In that way you can compare and follow the steps in your textbook or in your training. So what I'm referring here is when you open your training, so you can open your training or lab, open that one up and take a look. On the top it shows me how many tasks are there. It shows me there are 29 tasks. It's not a bad idea to take a look. What are those tasks? So you can click on these three dashes and you can see what are those some of the tasks involved in training or lab 2. For example, create a formula using relative cell references. So if there's a step in your project refers to that particular step, you can actually go and watch that one, observe that one, or apply that one. Number 2, create a formula using arithmetic operators, which is pretty simple. It's basically multiplication, addition, subtraction, really simple. Create a formula using order of operations, which comes first, where do we put the parentheses, and so on and so forth. Fill handle to copy a formula, selecting cells, using the sum function, using the max function, min function, average functions. All these different steps are there. There might be a couple of new things, so I'm going to scroll down for a second. So here it is. So you might see apply a theme. This is actually the step number 1 in Project 2. So if you have never applied a theme, say where do I find the theme, under which ribbon? You can watch that one right there. Change the font size of the cell contents, fill color of a cell, add a border to cells. If you have now not applied the border to a cell, you can actually take a look at this particular area here. The next 3-4 steps are easy. Date format, currency number format, percentage format, changing the decimal places. Step number 20 in your training might be new, conditional formatting. We have not done conditional formatting in the first project, so this is something new. So I'll actually go over conditional formatting as well. And finally, the last couple of things, we know how to do autofit. We know how to change the height with an approximate or exact column width or height of the row. Spell check probably is not that challenging. Changing the worksheet margins, changing the orientation of your worksheet from portrait to landscape and vice versa. Entering the text header, which we have not done in the first project, so I'll show you how that is done as well. And how do you scale it for printing purposes. So there are 29 steps involved. In fact, I don't recommend you start the project before you complete the lab or training. So just wanted to highlight these options for you. So let's go back to our project, and in our project, it's going to tell you that make sure you go to specific kind of worksheet. So right now it says go to profit analysis worksheet. Once we go there, change the width of a column to 15, A15. And also, that is actually step 2. The step 1 is change the theme to office. Who can help me to change the theme of this profit analysis worksheet? So right now, if I open this one up, there are 2 sheets, profit analysis and employee discount. There are 2 sheets there. Those are provided to us in our start file. If I go to profit analysis, help me out. How do I change the theme of my profit analysis? What do I need to do? Nicole?
You head to the page layout ribbon, and then in the left-hand corner there is a tab for themes.
So Nicole is saying go to page layout ribbon. Why page layout ribbon? So it's something you want to think. This is true in Word, PowerPoint, Access, Excel, and many other technologies developed by Microsoft Office, that you want to think where this can reside, where it's bundled up. So for example, it is referring to formula, for example, formula related. So you probably want to go to formula ribbon on the top. If you're trying to insert something such as a chart, a graph or something, you probably want to go to insert ribbon. Like this, in this particular case, it is the layout of your overall sheet. So you probably want to go to page layout. There are a lot of different subcategories in the page layout. So what Nicole is mentioning here, if I go to page layout, so notice that there are different subcategories, different kind of things are bundled up. Arrange is here on the right side, sheet options, scale to fit, page setup, and there is something in the beginning called themes. It's hard to see in the video probably, but it's under themes. So under themes, when I click right here, I'm going to move this sheet a little bit so you can probably see more clearly in the video. So under theme, these are the different themes available. So I clicked on page layout under themes, and I can find different names for these themes. According to step number 1, I should be selecting office theme. When I click that office theme, it has some built-in fonts, styles, and the sizes, and the color coordination is done. So this was provided to us. Can I customize my own theme? Absolutely. I can save my own theme. I can do that for in the future as well, which we'll probably do in the future project. Right now, I can select the office, and that will be the first step for me. Right here, click office. It makes some certain changes to my sheet, which is only to the profit analysis sheet. Certain colors were changed, certain sizes were changed, and so on and so forth. That's your step 1. Pretty straightforward. Couple of clicks, and you're done with the first step. In the second step, it says change the width of column A to 15. So it's exact width. Again, you can do it in 2 or 3 different ways. So if I go to column A, I can click on column A right here. I can click on column A. Notice that I can also manually drag it. Right now it's 13.14. See on the top? I can drag it and try to make it 15. But that's kind of time consuming. What else I can do, once the column A has been selected, I can manually drag it by taking my pointer on the top, and I can probably make it exactly 15. There's another probably way to do it. Yeah, help me, Chandler.
You can go to, on the Home tab, you can go to Format and select column width. You can adjust it accordingly.
So Chandler is saying go to Home and go to Format, and under here I might be able to find column width right here. So what we did, we clicked on Home, we went to Format, and under Format we went to column width. When you click on column width, it's going to say what size do you want. It opens up a small dialog box. You put 15 there, hit enter. It's going to change the width of your column to exact 15 width. And it will also show you the number of pixels are needed for that particular column. All right, so that's your step 2, and I'm going to skip the third step 2B. I'm going to skip the next few steps as well. We did that in project 1, how to do the sum for different ranges. I'm going to skip that one. We also did accounting style in project 1 with $ and 2 decimal places. I'm going to skip that one as well. But by the way, in your training, it is still demonstrated in training number 2. So if you want to take a look at how to do accounting style or other styles as well. Change the fill color of range A9 through E9 to yellow. And by the way, it shows you the exact 4th column, 1st row of standard. Make sure you read this one carefully when you're reading, when you're working at home. When you open the color palette, there are different types of color categories. So I'm not sure it's called category, or they're set up separately. So you want to be under standard colors palette. So let me select that range, A9 through E9. I can go to my spreadsheet, select range, A9 through E9. Once the range has been selected, so this one is, when I bring my control here, that one is called fill color. See that one? Fill color. Color the background of cells to make them stand out. So when you select that fill color, you can click the drop down arrow here, and under drop down arrow you can see the theme colors on the top and standard colors in the middle. That's the one you want. 4th row, 1st column, which is yellow in this case. So I will select the 4th row and 1st column, and that's how you can pick up the color, which is your step number 5. Okay, step number 5. So fill color, select that one, and pick appropriate row and column as highlighted there. Then on the same location, it says apply top and thick bottom border. So this is also under home ribbon. You can also find a step in training 2 as well. So this is the same range. Make sure this is selected, A9 through E9. Then you go to, so I can show in the video. So you select the range A9 through E9. Then there is one of those, is called top and thick bottom border right there. Okay. So in the future, if it asks you to select a different type of border, you can just find the type of border you're looking for. You can also go to more borders for additional resources available for you. So when I select top and thick bottom border, the border has been added, and this is what we wanted, top and thick bottom border. And step number 6, we can easily find exact type of border in the listings of the border. Okay. Step number 7, you want to calculate some business statistics, average, highest, and lowest for each year across all departments. I'm going to skip that one. It's very similar to your sum function. You can select the average by clicking the auto sum button. There's a button and you click. Let me highlight that one for you. So if what I'm referring here is, you can either type, let's say I want to calculate average here. So I can go to auto sum, and the average function is right there. Average function is right there. So make sure you're in the right cell. And once you select that one, make sure you have the right range in the average. Typically, calculated values do not fall under average. The raw data falls under average. What I'm referring here is, you should be calculating average from B5 through B8. excluding B9. B9 will skew your data. The data will be biased. So calculated values should not be in the average. Average is based on the raw data, not the calculated value in this specific case. If I know how to do average for this cell, I can use this fill handle and get the average for the rest of the cells as well. I can do the same thing with max, which is the highest value, and min, which is the lowest value. And by the way, there is a formula, there is a function available, max and min, right there in the same auto sum button. Or if I prefer, I can type this formula. I can say equal sign, average, and inside parentheses, I can provide the range B5 through B8. B5 through B8. If I would like to get the maximum value, I can say equal sign max, B5 through B8. And I can calculate this way as well instead of selecting it. Either method is going to work for us. Okay, so that's your average, max, steps 7, 8, and 9. So these are very similar. Once you know how one is applied, the other will be easy to follow as well. Step number 10, you need to determine the profit generated each year. That's a simple negative sign you have to apply between two cells. We did something similar like that in project 1 when we wanted to calculate the profit. So again, I'll let you do it. It's really, really simple. In step number 11, you want to visually highlight, and this is where we will be applying conditional formatting. Conditional formatting. So conditional formatting is helpful because sometimes you want to see what values stand out. You're not interested in exact numbers. You would like to find out where the trends are happening. So it provides you the trend information, or things are going up and down. And there are various types of symbols we use with conditional formatting. We use arrows, we use stronger colors, we use different types of bars. There are different types of conditional formatting. So here in step 11, it says apply a conditional formatting rule to the range B22 to E22. Unfortunately, I don't have the data yet because I did not complete all the previous steps. So in my B22, there's no data. So I'm going to show it to you. B22, I have nothing there because I did not apply the previous steps. But I'm going to apply the conditional formatting on something different, something else, just to show you how it is done. So I'm going to select, let me pick up some other value. So let me pick up the range here. This range here, which is B18 through E18, just to show you how the conditional formatting happens. In your case, when you're working in project 2, you should be applying conditional formatting from B22 through E22, that range. But because my data actually is missing, so I'm going to show you in a different range, B18 through E18. Exactly the same thing you will do for B22 later on. All right. Once the range has been selected, then under home ribbon, we have something called conditional formatting. And under conditional formatting, there are different types, and we'll revisit this 2-3 times throughout the semester. So we have a choice for highlight cell rules, top, bottom rules, data bars, color scales, icon sets, and so on and so forth. In step 11, it wants us to apply a new rule. And let's go back to the instructions. That's what it's telling us to do. So take a look here. It says apply a conditional formatting to the range and use rule type, new rule option, rule type, format only cells that contain. So this is what we need to select under new rule. And once that's done, change the rule description to format only cells with a cell value of less than 0 with red fill color. And it tells us where the fill color is as well. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. So I go back to my spreadsheet. My data is highlighted. Here it is, my data is highlighted. So I go to conditional formatting. I click on new rule. So for the camera, I'm going to show you this once again. So make sure your range is selected. You go to conditional formatting, click new rule, and this dialog box opens up. One of the options in this dialog box is format only cells that contain. That's what we need to do for this step 11. So format only cells that contain, and once I select that option, it says, okay, what would you like to do? We need to select less than. So right now it shows between. By default, it shows you between. Cell value between this range. We do not want to do that for step 11. We need to select less than. Less than. And again, in your instruction in step 11, it says less than 0. The values I have selected, I want to make it a little bit more meaningful. I would like to say less than 15,000 instead of 0. Again, you can apply slightly different data in your step number 11. So I'm going to say less than 15,000. So type 15,000 here. 15,000 here. Format. In fact, we can click. Yeah, we can click format, fill, and red. Hit OK. So what I did, I clicked on format. Again, for the camera, I clicked on format once I selected the range, and I selected the red color per instructions in step number 11. You hit OK in the previous dialog box and hit OK here. Once you hit OK here, it's going to highlight all the values which are less than 15,000. In fact, it is highlighting a value which is not less than 15,000. So there's something not right. So I'm going to go back to conditional formatting, new rule, and go to less than 0. Oh, less than 15,000. Let me try once again. Format, fill, red, hit OK, hit OK. So for some reason, it's picking up something which is not less than 15,000.
That's 12,000. Yeah. That's good. That's good. That's 2,000.
That's
1,600.
oh, my fault. My fault. I was thinking 1,500. So, yeah. So I was actually misreading it. It's actually less than 15,000, of course, because I was thinking these are numbers. Yeah, it's 2,000. 2,000 is less than 15,000. I was reading as 20,000. So, all right. So sometimes the numbers are there and we actually misread it. All right, so it seems like it's working. Then it says modify the worksheet. So it wants us to make a couple of changes. Currently, by default, your spreadsheet is kind of landscape. When you print it, it's going to print landscape. So we can change it to portrait, and we can make the margins narrow. By default, if you print your worksheet, you will have 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch margins. You can change those margins. You can customize those margins. Right now, it wants me to make it the narrow margins and also change the orientation to portrait. Where do I find this one? I can go to page layout. Under page layout, I can find right next to the themes, I can find margins and orientation. Under orientation, I can select portrait, and under margins, I can select narrow. That's your step number 12. All right, I'm going to move on. Step number 13, it wants me to have this header in my sheet, this header. We have not added the header in the past, so this will be the first time I can add the header. Who can tell me how do I get the header? I can
Page layout.
Page layout. I can find in page layout. Where else? View. And again, I can do it manually as well. Again, you can do it in 3-4 different ways. So if I go under view, it shows me the view of my worksheet. And currently, I'm in normal view. As you can see in the left top corner, I'm in normal view. I have page break view. I have page layout view. And I have custom views. If I go under page layout view, and it's going to open up page layout view, it's going to open up the area for the header. So under view, page layout view, I have a place for the middle area for the header. I can post what I actually, or type what I actually have in my instructions. That's what I just did. I copied and pasted, or you can type it. Rough stitch clothing profit analysis. So once your header has been added, you can click back on your sheet. So header is embedded for all the sheets. That header is going to appear in all the sheets. So I can click inside here somewhere, and I can always go back and go to the normal view. You can go to view. Okay. Again, it's one of the steps we have. Just want to make sure that you understand. Go to view and click on normal. So it takes you back to the normal view. I skipped on it, so let me try again. Normal. That's your normal view. That's your step number 13. I'm going to skip the spell check. You can easily do spell check. Try to find the spell check under review, and it might be on the left hand side. Step number 15 is this is something interesting. Something shows the power of Excel spreadsheet. It says that go to the second spreadsheet, second sheet, because we have another sheet which is called Employee Discount Worksheet. It's referring to this one here. Let me make it slightly larger for the camera. So this is the other sheet, and this sheet has some built-in data provided to us. For example, for Stephanie, the women's department and department code. So notice that SM is picked up from her first initial, the first and last name initial. For women's, it picked up WO, and for department 010. Okay, so notice that it's picking up the data from the previous 3 other neighboring cells. So in step number 15, it's very interesting. It wants me to add this particular data in the next cell right here. It wants me to type that data in the cell which is D4. I can either type it, or I'm going to simply paste it. When you paste something, you can paste as text. So data has been pasted. Okay, nothing fancy. You just copied and pasted or typed it. Now watch what happens. This is where the power of Excel comes. So imagine if this is a complex spreadsheet. You might have hundreds of different rows and columns, and you do not want to do this manually. You want spreadsheet to perform this kind of calculation, okay, this kind of functionality. So you select the range. Which is this range here, and use the autofill, the fill handle. Use the fill handle. When I use the fill handle and I leave it, oops, I made a mistake here, so I'm going to delete this one. So select the range, and then we have something called, in fact, that's what the instructions is telling me. It's called flash fill, right there, flash fill. Not autofill, flash fill. So select that range. So the Excel knows the sequence of the first 2 cells, and there's something called flash fill. And where do I find the flash fill?
You can find it underneath the AutoSum function in fill. Just click the drop-down menu, and it'll give you option for flash fill.
So you're saying this is one place?
No, underneath the AutoSum.
Underneath the
Where it says fill.
Fill. This is one place. Can I find a flash fill differently? Again, you can find in 3-4 different ways. You can also use the right click and find. You can also find in other places. But what Chandra is saying, I can go right under fill, open up the option, but make sure this is selected first, and select the flash fill. What the flash fill is going to do, it's going to automatically fill the appropriate values for rest of the cells. So when you apply flash fill, it picks up Jason, Lily, Lauren, their initials, as well as their departments and their other department code. Very useful functionality. Saves you a lot of time. So you don't have to do anything manually. Let Excel handle it automatically. So we are almost done. This is your step number 15. I'm going to skip steps 16, 17, and 18, because in step 16, percentage, 2 decimal places, you can easily do that. Step number 17, short date. Again, you can find format cell, and you can do the setup for the date. Change the orientation. Again, you can go to page layout, and you can go to orientation and change back to landscape. And once you are done, hit the save button, compare your sheet with the sheet here. And remember, as a student, you can upload this 3 times. After first time, check your score. Go back to your SAM, check your score. If you have not received 100%, then make the correction wherever you made a mistake, and you can submit the second time. Now, I know a few weeks from now, some of you will say, I did not know that you can upload 2 or 3 times. I did not know where the report was. So ask me during the class. I can show you where you can find the report and correct your errors. Your goal is to get 100% in this project. All right? So that's all, and I'll see you next time in the next video. Thank you.